who would I be if I wasn't constrained by the need to perform, if I wasn't constrained by the need to be seen as successful. And maybe this is why I'm never going to become a billionaire. I have no desire to become a billionaire.
Being smart is basically pointless unless you're at peace. Any amount of intelligence can be overridden by ego or insecurity or immorality or bad incentives or impatience or poor sleep. Sleep is, as far as I can see, just pebble at the top of the avalanche. It's the gateway drug to everything else being horrendous.
With Chris Hemsworth in Australia a week and a bit ago, me, him, both of his brothers, and a friend of his with a couple of my guys, we flew to Byron Bay from Brisbane for the day, and we spent an afternoon with him and his boys. All they wanted to talk about was this. All they wanted to talk about is the third passage, right? The middle way. I've done a lot of what the world told me I should achieve. I'm interested in what's beyond that. I'm interested in what is post-success. And not, trying to turn success into more success, but in an easier way. But do you know the idea of false peaks in mountaineering? So imagine that you're trying to get to the highest point that you can in a mountain range, and you climb up a big hill and you get to the top and you go, wow, I'm really, really high. That is your local maxima. But your global maxima, if you were to take a broader perspective, if you were to look out across the vista and see, oh, there's a higher mountain over there, but in order for me to get there, I need to descend this one. I need to go down. So that's a false peak. Or technically a false peak would be climbing a mountain, getting to the top of a hill and realizing that in order to get to the top of the mountain, you need to go back down, to go back up, to go back down. And I think a lot of the time what people have discovered are false peaks. They've achieved something that they thought would bring them a level of success and happiness, and it didn't. And it's an interesting question that a lot of guys, in my 20s, I asked myself, at the end of my 20s, I asked myself, who would I be if I was able to determine my life however I wanted? That was a big question. I don't want to be constrained by my habits, by my patterns, by the opinions of others. And that caused me to change myself a lot. And that was great. And now I'm asking myself a deeper question, I think, or maybe just a different question, which is, who would I be if I wasn't constrained by the need to perform, if I wasn't constrained by the need to be seen as successful? And maybe this is why I'm never going to become a billionaire. I have no desire to become a billionaire. I don't know. I'm more interested in other things. I want to start a family, experiencing some deep peace, varying my life, connecting with my friends, giving spaciousness so that I can explore my own mind. That seems interesting to me. And I'm fortunate that what I do with the show allows me to do both things at once. I have a great wealth making vehicle that is very successful and reaches lots of people and impacts the world. Like, it's so many things, and also is a vehicle for personal growth. It's also this sort of transformation technology that selfishly is all about me. I get to bring on whoever I'm interested in to specifically talk on the very problem that I'm struggling with right now. And then I leave, and it's called a job. I went to work that day, but what I really did was selfishly ask a bunch of questions that I want to know about my next stage of personal transformation. And that feels like a weird hack. Whatever me and you do is a very strange glitch in the matrix that we've managed to sort of inject ourselves into the middle of. But yeah, I have no desire to become a billionaire. And the likelihood of me becoming a billionaire is probably very low in any case. I've noticed, like, I'm choosing to not be a billionaire. Oh, no, not for me. Not for me, thank you. I'm not choosing to not be a billionaire, but just even the energy I gotta look at the energy that would be required to get to that. I mean, sometimes you can fluke it, like Newtonic, right? This energy drink company that I've got, Smarter Energy Drink, it's brilliant. And maybe we'll have, I'd give it a 30% chance that we have a really, really large exit with that. Like a generational wealth sized exit. We've just raised $6 million on 60, and by the end of the year it'll be valued at $100 million. Fucking brilliant, right? Really cool, super exciting. So maybe but if I do that, am I going to desperately be ready to run it back, to fold my payout, whatever I get from it, into I must turn it into, I must 10x my 10x, no. And this is why I saw this really great tweet that said, the more I heal, the less I'm ambitious. And I think it's so fucking great. And it speaks to what you were talking about before. Alex Hormozy, one of my really good friends, he's got this line where he says, people try to look at champions to work out what they have that other people are missing, but they've got it backward. Champions are missing something that everybody else has, which is an off switch. I think it's true. But you lose everything except for the pursuit, right? Everything becomes sacrificed, because if you're prepared to make a trade from your primary pursuit for something which doesn't contribute to it, your friends, your family, your social life, your sex life, your financial position, your health, if you're prepared to make that sacrifice, the likelihood is that you'll be beaten by somebody that is prepared to make that sacrifice. Eddie Hall, world's strongest man, British guy. I think he won world's strongest man in 2018. So you see him at the very end. He's been working toward this thing for, a decade, something more. And he's holding this trophy in the air and he's saying, Nana, grandma in British, Nana, this is for you. His grandma passed away at some point recently, and he's crying, and he retires. He retires on the podium, basically. He retires. That's it. I'm done. Won once. And in an interview that I saw with him a little while afterward, he said, if I hadn't retired when I won World's Strongest Man, I would be dead, divorced, with no relationship to my kids. Because he was like 180 kilos at 6'4", with blood pressure that would power a fucking jet engine. And he was working so hard and pushing himself with performance enhancing drugs and eating all this food and training all this time that his relationship with his wife was falling apart, and he didn't have any time to see his kid. In order for you to beat Eddie Hall, you need to sacrifice everything that Eddie is prepared to sacrifice, which was everything. Which was his health, his family, his wife, his partnership, everything. He was prepared to sacrifice it all. The only way that you can do it without sacrificing everything is to be so good that you have additional capacity, that your 98% is better than his 101%. But most people aren't, right? And even if that is the case, who's to say that there isn't someone that's more talented than you that's going to give 99 or 100 or 101, and now your 98 is exactly the reason that you lost? And you never know. You never know whether or not that person, like, how good am I really? Am I a generational talent? No, you just give everything. It's that maniacal focus that pushes people forward. And that's what we raise up. That's why Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, right? An amazing documentary series on Netflix. So cool. Do you want to be Michael Jordan? I don't want to be Michael Jordan. I mean, I respect and admire, and he's so cool to see what he did during his career, but he's still ravaged by that same competitive drive. And that's tough. That's tough. And he alchemized it into something great. Now, the worst position to be in is to have that competitive drive, but not the discipline to deploy it. That's when you're ruthless, because you are going to spend your entire life feeling like you didn't fulfill your potential. You want this thing and you can't get it. And that has to be way more of the champions that never were, that we never even learn about, right? Because there can only be one, number one. I don't know. I'm fascinated by this conversation. I'm fascinated by this question. I think it's very, very interesting.
So many people want to build habits. They want to build meditation routine. They want to go to the gym more consistently. They want to improve their eating habits. They don't realize that the thing that's stopping them from doing that is sat at the bottom of the glass of wine that they have 4 nights a week. It's tough. Some people are able to do it and they don't mind. The cost-benefit ratio for some people is great. I'm just saying, try. Just try 6 months. The reason that you need to put an end date on it is that it's like running a race where you know that there's a finish line. If there's no finish line, it's really hard to run the race. How are you motivating yourself to get there? I think that 90 days would be the absolute minimum. 30 days isn't long enough. You need longer, right? And especially given that the hardest bit is the start, which means that you've paid all of the pain at the very beginning to not actually get any of the benefits of this being my new habit. Mm-hmm. Do it with an accountability buddy, do it with your partner. Say, hey, I listen to those 2 British idiots talk about how not drinking might be a good idea. Why don't we do that? Why don't we try going sober until July? You haven't missed the summer, right? The summer's just about to kick in. So if you think, oh, I can't wait to get back to drinking, you can have a beer in a beer garden. A huge proportion of people will not want to go back to drinking. They'll do it, take time off, get into it, and realize, I actually don't like this. I love the fact I got more reward from building good habits, from now having a meditation practice, from now getting up on time, from being able to go to the gym more, I've become more dependent on that than I ever was on the alcohol. Being smart is basically pointless unless you're at peace. Like, any amount of intelligence can be overridden by ego or insecurity or immorality or bad incentives or impatience or poor sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is, as far as I can see, it's the pebble at the top of the avalanche. It's the gateway drug to everything else being horrendous. Your caffeine use is impacting your sleep. Your phone use is impacting your sleep. Your alcohol in an evening time is impacting your sleep. If you think that you drink in order to go to sleep, you're not sleeping, you're sedating yourself. Okay, so if we can sort the sleep out, how many other things open up? But you don't sort the sleep out. You sort the caffeine intake out, and you sort the nighttime phone use out, and you sort the drinking out. And then, oh my God, I've got all of this extra willpower. The thing that I thought was the issue, which was I kind of always feel a bit tired and sluggish in the morning, or I always want to eat salty foods around midday, or I always just can't think too straight for the first couple of hours. It's like, the problem might be hiding at the bottom of the glass. From all of the habit stuff, James Clear's been on my show. I think he's been on your show too.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah. Best habit book of all time, Atomic Habits. Of all of the things, there's only two that have really, really, really stuck. This is the best rule when it comes to habits. Never miss 2 days in a row. Like, you are not going to be able to go to the gym every day. There will be one day when an absolute catastrophe occurs. You ate some dodgy sushi last night. You can't go. But what you have is one missed day is an error. 2 missed days is the start of a new habit. And it alleviates this all or nothing mentality that we all have. If you put a packet of biscuits in front of me and you, we say, you can have none of them or you can have all of them. Easy. Tell me to have 2 of them. Fuck you, dude. I'm not gonna have 2. No one has 2 biscuits, right? You have all of the biscuits or you have none of the biscuits. And that's kind of, humans are absolutist creatures. Like, think in extremes.
Yeah.
Gonna be super, super dialed in on my diet and it's gonna be great and I'm gonna get up and do my meditation and do the rest. Or I'm gonna go full degen mode and I'm partying and it's Ibiza and so on and so forth. Like, there is no middle ground really with this. And that means that small errors can snowball into complete demolitions of the habit. But if you just think, okay, at some point this year, I'm gonna miss it. And the rule is, if I missed it yesterday, I have to do it today. And that alleviates your issue, which was I cranked it for the first couple of months and then one day came in and I thought, ugh, and then the second day, and then I thought, well, this is just me now. 10-minute walk after every meal.
Interesting.
Huge, huge ROI, dude, crazy. So it's called a postprandial walk. And what it does is it helps to regulate glucose, it gets your blood sugar moving, your stomach, because of the contralateral movement of how your arms and your legs work, the muscles actually cross across your stomach, which helps you to digest food. You know, you have a huge, big meal, you're having a great conversation, and you sit there and you're like, oh, I mean, this conversation's so great, but I feel awful. This sucks. If you just, after you go out for dinner, if you've got a lunch break from work, eat your food, 10-minute little walk. Again, I challenge people to do it and not say that it makes them feel really good. You go for dinner, you're with a friend, you're out with a partner, you're meeting somebody for the first time. Say, hey, why don't we have a little stroll? Sometimes it's gonna be freezing outside, whatever. You know, do what you can. Let's go for a little stroll. It makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah, there's a wonderful idea called productivity dysmorphia. So it's the inability to see your own success. It's like to acknowledge the volume of your own output. So it sits at the intersection of burnout, imposter syndrome, and anxiety. You think of it like ambition's alter ego, basically. Like, the pursuit of productivity spurs us to do more while robbing us of the ability to savor any of the successes that we achieve along the way. So first off, people are not particularly good judges of how productive they are. I think so many people are whipping themselves into submission, saying you're not doing enough because in the past that motivated them to do more. And after a while, you have to accept, I'm doing quite a lot. And if you were an athlete on a sports team and your coach only ever pointed at you when you made a bad play, you wouldn't feel particularly motivated by that. But a lot of people have this sense of productivity debt. They wake up every day feeling as if they're already behind. And only if they dominate their entire day perfectly can they drag themselves back up to some minimum level of acceptable output. And only then can they go to sleep that night without feeling like a loser. This means that your set point is loss. And the best thing that you can do if you crush the day is get to a draw. You never win. And then there's this sort of weird drill sergeant in the back of your mind that's saying, all right, you can have a little bit of a break now, but just so you know, as soon as you wake up in the morning, it's all going to happen again. And, I'm speaking to a very particular type of mindset here. There is a huge cohort of people on the internet who do need David Goggins screaming in their face, telling them to go harder and sort their life out. The sort of people that listen to your show and listen to Modern Wisdom are probably not in that camp. See your own shortfalls from a front row seat, right? And this is one of the curses of people who have big dreams, goals for themselves. The size of their goals is always greater than their ability to deliver them. And we assume that by having very, very, very high standards for ourselves, that's what is it? Shoot for the stars, and even if you don't get it, you'll end up on the moon, something like that.
On the clouds.
Yeah, whatever. That's great for a while, and it's very good at the beginning of your journey. But after a while, I think you just need to give yourself a fucking break, dude. Like, people are destroying themselves in this perpetual sense of not enoughness. They're always chasing the next thing. So all of that is for me to say that people want productivity, desire productivity. I'm just trying to say, you're probably working real hard as it is.